Welcome to Dose with Grace. I hope you're doing well and taking very good care of your health. Today, we are going to start with the chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita consists of 700 shlokas. It is a conversation between Arjuna and Sri Krishna. It's more like a question answer format, and there is so much divine knowledge given about various aspects of living life, the confusions that we have, the questions that we have about life, the dilemmas, the doubts about what is to be done, what is not to be done, what is our dharma, what is karma, who are we, where are we going, what is our purpose of life. All these questions are answered in sequence in Bhagavad Gita as a conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. Today we are starting with the 17th chapter, which is the last but one chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We have almost concluded this beautiful journey together. I am very, very grateful to God for giving me this opportunity to be able to do this in this way, that it will remain there as in a format that is easily accessible to anyone who's interested in understanding and getting this nectar of how to live life, what is life, any confusions that are related to our everyday living, big or small. In the last video, we did chapter 16, that was Deva Asur Sampadi Vibhag Yog, which means the division between the demonic and the divine qualities. It was about qualifying what is divine, what is demonic, and how those qualities express themselves in nature through us. It was a wonderful learning for me too, and today I'm happy to start this chapter with you to understand more about the 17th chapter, which is Shraddha Tray Vibhag Yog. Shraddha Tray Vibhag Yog. It is also called as the divisions of faith. So, if you are someone who is reading Bhagavad Gita in English, chapter number 17 is called as the chapter which talks about the division of faith. And since I am referring to this book in Hindi and Sanskrit, so it is called Shraddha Tray Vibhag Yog. So let's dive into this wonderful chapter, which will give us amazing learning about what are the different types of faiths and how people with different nature practice their faith. And to learn more about it, first let's invoke the powerful and blissful blessings of these two Mahamantras. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you for joining back. The first shloka of chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita. इस प्रकार भगवान के वचन सुनकर अर्जुन बोले, हे कृष्ण, जो मनुष्य शास्त्र विधि को त्याग कर केवल श्रद्धा से युक्त हुए देवादिकाओं का पूजन करते हैं, उनकी स्थिति फिर कौन सी है? क्या सात्विक की है अथवा राजसी किंवा तामसी है? So the first shloka of the chapter 17, Arjuna is asking Krishna, he is inquiring, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scriptures, or maybe who have not read the scriptures, but worship according to their own imagination? or their own devotion, their own sense of devotion? Are they in goodness? Are they in the mood of goodness or passion or ignorance? So this is the question Krishna is being asked in the first श्लोका. इस प्रकार अर्जुन के पूछने पर श्री भगवान बोले, हे अर्जुन, मनुष्य की वे बिना शास्त्रीय संस्कारों के केवल स्वभाव से उत्पन्न हुई श्रद्धा सात्विक की और राजसी तथा तामसी ऐसे तीनों प्रकार की ही होती है. इससे तुम मेरे से सुन. So Shri Krishna tells Arjun, according to the modes of nature acquired by this embodied soul, when one practices faith, it can be in all the three modes. The faith can be practiced in all the three modes. Now Shri Krishna is going to tell us how, when we are practicing our own faith, our own religion, are we practicing it in sattvic mode, rajasic mode, or tamasic mode? Sattvic mode will be the mode of goodness, rajasic mode will be in the mode of passion, and tamasic mode would be in the mode of ignorance. हे भरत, सभी मनुष्यों की श्रद्धा उनके अंतकरण के अनुरूप होती है तथा ये पुरुष श्रद्धामय है. इसलिए जो पुरुष जैसी श्रद्धा वाला है वह स्वयं भी वैसी ही, अर्थात जैसी जिसकी श्रद्धा है वैसा ही उसका स्वरूप है. So Shri Krishna tells Arjun, O son of Bharata, according to one's existence under the various mode of nature, we have understood there are three modes of nature that are applicable to us as soon as our soul takes a body. As soon as we become embodied, the mode of natures have a play over us. It's like a wheel that covers all embodied souls. So, according to one's existence under various modes of nature, one involves a particular kind of faith. So, when the kind of faith that we follow actually comes from the kind of the mode of nature that is more prevalent in us, and it can change over a period of time in life. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he or she has acquired. उसमें सात्विक पुरुष तो देवों को पूजते हैं और राजस पुरुष यक्ष और राक्षसों को पूजते हैं तथा अन्य जो तामस पुरुष हैं वे प्रेत और भूत गणों को पूजते हैं. So how our faith is determined by the play of the natures. In this shloka, Shri Krishna is explaining, men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods, the gods like who we call as Krishna, Shiva, Hanumanji, Ramji, and for other faiths, whatever the names of your gods are, you can take those names as examples. Those in the mode of passion worship either the demons or the ones who are slightly higher energy than humans. Yakshas. Yakshas are not gods, but they are the ones who have little more power than humans. They have certain siddhis that they have done. And demons, Rakshas. And those in the mode of ignorance, they worship some spirits, a certain kind of spirit energies and certain kind of ghost energies. हे अर्जुन, जो मनुष्य शास्त्र विधि से रहित केवल मन कल्पित घोर तप को तपते हैं तथा दंभ और अहंकार से युक्त एवं कामना, आसक्ति और बल के अभिमान से भी युक्त हैं, तथा जो शरीर रूप से स्थित भूत समुदाय को अर्थात शरीर, मन और इंद्रियां आदिकों के रूप में परिणत हुए आकाश आदि पंचभूतों को और अंतकरण में स्थित मुझ अंतर्मयी को भी क्रश करने वाले हैं, उस अज्ञानियों को तू असुरी स्वभाव वाला जान. Here कृश means शास्त्र से विरुद्ध उपासवधि घोर आचरणों द्वारा शरीर को सुखाना एवं भगवान के अंश स्वरूप जीवात्मा को कलेश देना, भूत समुदाय और अंतर्मयी परमात्मा को क्रश करना है. So in this shloka, Shri Krishna is explaining. I've read two shlokas together because they are connected. He says, those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures. So our scriptures have a very beautiful and very, you can say, with great clarity, they have laid out the path for people to practice certain kind of austerities, like fasting, like doing some yagyas, havans, and a particular kind of prayers to a particular kind of demigods. So because it's like a prescribed text which has been laid out over many thousand years ago, because that has a certain relevance and it connects you with the energy of that god in a right way, because there is a right way to connect to somebody, whether it is god, whether it is a person, or whether it is a god energy. If we do so there has to be a mind purification, then there has to be a certain devotion, then there has to be a certain amount of a certain amount of physical activities which are called as rituals to be performed to bring that humility, to be able to receive and connect with that light energy or divine energy of God. That is why all these things are very nicely prescribed in our text. For example, if we are fasting on say a Monday, which is a for the prayer of Shiva, there is a certain color that is association that is given an association to that day. There is a certain way you wake up in early morning, you take bath, you take meal only one time a day. As much as possible, try to keep your mind in the prayers of Shiva. That day is dedicated to him. It is a certain day on which we keep fast for Shiva or do prayers for Shiva. They are more beneficial because that day connects with the energy of that god. So these are well laid out things in the scripture. So Shri Krishna says, those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them just out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by lust and attachment. You're doing this extra penance just because you want more benefits or you want more favorable results from God, who are foolish and who torture the material elements of the body as well as the super soul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. So here demons, it's not like they become demons, but that is the nature they acquire. This is a very, very demonic nature. We saw in the last chapter what is a demonic nature and what is a divine nature. A demonic nature is very much about the pride, very much about self applauding, very much about not following the rules and regulations as they are laid out in scriptures, which are rather for the benefit of the for performing the task in a very righteous way. So this is what Shri Krishna tells Arjun. हे अर्जुन, जैसे श्रद्धा तीन प्रकार की होती है, वैसे ही भोजन भी सबको अपनी अपनी प्रकृति के अनुसार तीन प्रकार का प्रिय होता है, और वैसे ही यज्ञ, तप और दान भी तीन तीन प्रकार के होते हैं. So here Shri Krishna just explained about the faith. So he's saying, even just like the way faith is of three types, in the mode of goodness, in the mode of passion, and in the mode of ignorance, even the food each person prefers is of three kinds, according to their three modes of material nature. The same is true also for the kind of sacrifices they perform in life, the kind of austerities they go through, and the kind of charities people do. Now you try to hear the distinction. What are the three? So everything like the charity, the austerity, or the penances, or the prayers, or the yagyas, the amount of faith somebody has, the food people consume is also divided into three different categories based on this modes of nature that we are operating under, we are embodied with. आयु, बुद्धि, बल, आरोग्य, सुख और प्रीति को बढ़ाने वाले एवं रस युक्त, चिकने और स्थिर रहने वाले, फॉर एग्जाम्पल जिस भोजन का सार शरीर में बहुत काल तक रहता है उसको स्थिर रहने वाला कहते हैं, तथा स्वभाव से ही मन को प्रिय ऐसे आहार अर्थात भोजन करने के पदार्थ तो सात्विक पुरुष को प्रिय होते हैं. So here first Sri Krishna is explaining about food, the kind of food we consume. We say no, what we eat is what we become. What kind of food are pleasurable for what kind of people? That shows what mode of nature they are operating under. So Sri Krishna says, foods that are dear to those in the mode of goodness are the one that increase the duration of life. They increase the longevity. They purify one's existence and give one strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, slightly fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart and senses. कड़वे, खट्टे, लावण्य युक्त और अति गर्म तथा तीक्ष्ण, रूखे और दाहकारक एवं दुख, चिंता और रोगों को उत्पन्न करने वाले आहार अर्थात भोजन करने के पदार्थ राजस पुरुष को प्रिय होते हैं. Now, someone who is operating under the mode of passion, what kind of foods are of their choice? Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and are really hot, like burning hot, are dear to those in the mode of passion. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease. तथा जो भोजन अधपका, रस रहित और दुर्गंध युक्त एवं बासी और उच्छित क्षण है और जो अपवित्र भी है, वह भोजन तामस पुरुष को प्रिय होता है. So now Shri Krishna is explaining the qualities of food that is loved by people who are operating out of tamas or operating out of the state of ignorance. What would be that kind of food? It is the food which is prepared more than which is like very long food that is prepared much like longer. Here food which is not fully cooked also, like little raw, has been cooked for a long time, has been cooked and then kept for a long time. Food that is tasteless, decomposed, and bit, putrid. Which is like has a bad smell, like which is not juicy, doesn't have the right kind of odor. That's why it feels bit decomposed. And food consisting of the remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. Now you may think that who eats this kind of food? Now if you look at many of the foods that are considered like very much fancy these days, they have these qualities. They have a bit of like this, there is a cheese or a tofu which is smelling tofu, the food which has a lot of pungent smell. Sometimes I also go to some places where I feel this food, the odor of the food is not pleasing at all, and for certain people it has become their taste to eat that kind of food. So I mean that food comes under the category of a food that is prepared or is consumed under the mode of ignorance. हे अर्जुन, जो यज्ञ शास्त्र विधि से नियत किया हुआ तथा करना ही कर्तव्य है, ऐसे मन को समाधान करके फल को ना चाहने वाले पुरुषों द्वारा किया जाता है, वह यज्ञ तो सात्विक है. Now here Shri Krishna is explaining about, first he explained about the faith, then he explained about the food, three divisions of food, three divisions of faith. Now here Shri Krishna is explaining about the yagyas or the sacrifices. So he is explaining the three types of sacrifices made by these three types of people who operate in three different modes. The sacrifices performed according to the directions of the scriptures as a matter of duty. Here it is written, karna hi kartavya hai. Karna hi kartavya hai means doing this is my duty. With that intention, when somebody does a sacrifice as a matter of duty, and by those who desire no reward, they just do it as a sense of duty and according to the rules and regulations of scriptures, is considered to be a sacrifice in the mode of goodness. और हे अर्जुन, जो यज्ञ केवल धम्मचरण के लिए ही अथवा फल को भी उद्देश्य रखकर किया जाता है, उस यज्ञ को तू रजस जान. And then he explains what is the sacrifice in the mode of passion. The sacrifice that is performed for some material benefit. So for example, if you're getting puja done because you want to have a promotion, or you want a child, or you want some things to your health to get better, that is also a benefit that you're asking for. So you're doing something with a mindset or an intention to ask for a benefit from that material benefit, or for the sake of pride, or if you're doing it because you're trying to show that you are so you're such a you're such a evolved person. Either pride could be of righteousness. Look how righteous I am. Look what a God-loving person I am. And you all are just into material nature. Look at me. I'm so above all of you, above all these things. If with that sense of pride, if yajna is made or any sacrifice is being done, or if it is done with this pride that look, I am so capable that I can do it. So if it is done either from the intent of pride or from the intent of some material benefit, then you should be in this mode of passion. So if a sacrifice is performed under these two intentions, then it is performed under the mode of passion. तथा शास्त्र विधि से हीन और अन्न दान से रहित एवं बिना मंत्रों के, बिना दक्षिणा के और बिना श्रद्धा के किया हुआ यज्ञ तो तमस यज्ञ कहते हैं. And what is the kind of sacrifice that is performed under the mode of ignorance? Any sacrifice which is performed without regard for the directions of the scriptures, without the distribution of prasadam. Because whenever we perform a sacrifice, there is always a set of things that we have to do according to the scriptures. There is a laid out steps that we perform in performing a yajna or a sacrifice. And in that, at the end of it, there is a certain amount of sweets and fruits and some kind of grains and some kind of flowers we offer to God. That is part of the ritual, and then those are then distributed among people to have to enjoy as prasadam, so that they can also get the the grace of God. But if it is done without the following the rules and regulations, then there will be no prasad, because you will not even, the person who is performing it in the mode of ignorance will not even follow the scriptures, will not have the process laid out. So obviously there will be no prasad. Without distribution of prasadam or the spiritual food, without chanting of the Vedic hymns, and without paying the rightful remuneration to the priest, and without faith. Also, when you don't do it without faith, maybe you do pay the remuneration to the priest, maybe you do distribute the prasadam, but when you're doing that sacrifice, you're not actually doing it out of faith. You're doing it out of as a sense of burden, that oh, my parents have told me to do, so I have to do. Oh, it will give me benefit, so I should just do. Or I have to just do it because I'm the only one who's now been given this responsibility. So as a burden if we do, or if we do it without following the scriptures, if we do it without distributing the prasadam, or if we do uh, without chanting of the rightful mantras, then such a sacrifice performed is called in the mode of ignorance. हे अर्जुन, देवता, ब्राह्मण, गुरु और ज्ञानी जनों का पूजन एवं पवित्रता, सरलता, ब्रह्मचर्य और अहिंसा ये शरीर संबंधी तप कहा जाता है. Here गुरु शब्द इस माता, पिता, आचार्य, वृद्ध और अपने से जो भी किसी प्रकार के बड़े हों उनको समझना चाहिए. So here Shri Krishna is now telling what is tap, what is penance or austerity, because austerity is very important element of our life which teaches us how to become more and more humble and how to be more resilient towards moving ahead and evolving ourselves out of this whole grip and bondage of comfort and luxury and material prison. So Krishna says to Arjun, the austerity of body consists in the worship of the god, the Brahmanas. So here Brahmana means all the elders, all the gurus. It can include also if you have a prescribed guru that you have taken an oath to follow, your own parents, and any elder who's educating you in this field, the spiritual master, the superiors like the father and the mother, the acharyas, the temple priests who are also giving you knowledge about this, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. So what are the austerities of body in the good mode of goodness? These are these things. Worshipping the god, the Brahmanas, the spiritual masters, and the superiors like father and mother, and in practicing in your life cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. Practicing all this is called austerity, because you may think, oh, it's so simple, being clean is not a difficult thing, but being clean every day, being simple, not complicating things, not unnecessarily making life so difficult for others and yourself. If there is simplicity, then there will be no doubts in mind. So practicing that on everyday basis is called as the austerity in the mode of goodness, because this is all increasing our nourishing our sattvic guna. It is increasing our mode of goodness within us. Look at these qualities. The more we practice them, it's not easy to practice them, but the more we practice them, we are nourishing that side of ourselves. तथा जो उद्वेग को ना करने वाला, प्रिय और हितकारक एवं यथार्थ भाषण है, और जो वेद शास्त्रों के पढ़ने का एवं परमेश्वर के नाम जपने का अभ्यास है, वह निसंदेह वाणी संबंधी तप कहा जाता है. So here Shri Krishna is saying there is something called austerity of speech, because whatever we do karmas are not just by our body. We do karmas, there are three kind of karmas we do. One is through our body, one is through our speech, and one is through our thoughts. So how to have sattvic or in mode of goodness, how to do physical karmas, that Shri Krishna explained. Now how to do karmas or austerity through speech. So austerity of speech in the mode of goodness consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. Here why it is mentioned that reciting Vedic literature, because again it is difficult to be in that state of being always speaking truth, pleasing words, beneficial words, and not agitating others. And also by constantly reciting these Vedic literature, we keep ourselves refreshed of this knowledge and keep ourselves rejuvenating and nourishing ourselves with this knowledge of what is the benefit of being in this mode of goodness. So that nourishes us, and when we are nourished, we are able to maintain that austerity of speech, that we are able to speak truthful words, we are able to speak pleasing words, we are able to speak beneficial words, and we are able to make sure that through our speech we are not agitating others. And this comes by reading scriptures and reading Vedic literature in a very maybe in small amounts, but in a very consistent way in life. तथा मन की प्रसन्नता और शांत भाव एवं भगवान चिंतन करने का स्वभाव, मन का निग्रह और अंतकरण की पवित्रता, ऐसे ये मन संबंधी तप कहा गया है. So in next shloka, Shri Krishna is saying, as he is explaining with continuity of this, he says, and satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control and purification of one's existence are the austerities of mind. So here body, voice and mind. So all three he is telling what is the right way to practice austerity. For body, we heard that what it is: worshipping of God, the Brahmanas, the spiritual masters and superiors like father and mother, in cleanliness, simplicity and celibacy and non-violence. Through speech, how can we practice austerity? By speaking truth, by speaking pleasing, beneficial and not agitating others, and regularly reciting Vedic literature. And how we can practice the austerity of mind in the right way? By satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, not giving into instant gratifications, and purification of one's existence are the austerity of mind. परंतु हे अर्जुन, फल को ना चाहने वाले निष्कामी योगी पुरुष द्वारा परम श्रद्धा से किए हुए उस पूर्वार्थ 3 प्रकार के तप को सात्विक कहते हैं. So here Shri Krishna is explaining this threefold austerity: the austerity of body, the austerity of speech, and austerity of mind, performed with the transcendental faith by men, not expecting material benefits but engaged only for the sake of the love and devotion towards God, is called as austerity in goodness. So when we do all of these austerities, but 2 important things have to be understood. 1, it should be done as a transcendental faith in God. 2, it is not to be done for any material benefits. If you attach all these austerity and then you say I'll do all this so I get that, then it is not in the state of goodness. State of goodness is always doing it as a sense of duty towards your existence in this world, sense of duty towards the source that has sent you here. So we do all of this because this is our duty, this is our dharma, this is our swadharma, this is our sanatan dharma, this is how we have to be, this is the essence that we are, and not seeking for any material benefits. और जो तप सत्कार, मान और पूजा के लिए अथवा केवल पाखंड से ही किया जाता है, वह अनिश्चित और क्षणिक फल वाला तप यहाँ राजस कहा गया है. Now all these 3 austerities that we just understood, if these threefold austerities are performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor and worship, then it is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable and it is not permanent. So if the 3 of body, mind and speech, the austerities that we understood, if these are performed with an intention of pride, that look how great I am, look how wonderful I am, if it is bringing more and more pride in you and making you feel like you are so much better than others, and then you show that pride out of egoism, and if it is done for the sake of gaining respect, that you that people make you sit in a separate way, and they give you a bit of over attention sort of in front of others. If that is why you're doing all these austerities, so people know more about you and they give you a lot of importance, or for honor, or if you want to be like, there are some people who want to be even worshipped because they are performing these austerities. The more and more they spread about this, so that they are considered almost like a god, they are worshipped like a god. If it is to be done for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship, then it is said to be in the mode of passion. And Sri Krishna says that is neither stable nor permanent. Why? Because one day somebody will not believe that you are that great. So this austerities, you will start giving up, because you will the moment you are not getting that sense of supremeship in front of others. If this is the reason why you were doing it, if your pride is not satisfied, if your pride is not validated, if that honor and worship, that hero worship that was being given to you is no more given to you, then you may not be willing to even continue doing these austerities as a sense of duty. So then what Sri Krishna says, then in that state or mode of operating within you, it will neither be stable nor permanent. जो तप मूढ़ता पूर्वक हट से मन, वाणी और शरीर की पीड़ा से सहित एवं अथवा दूसरे को अनिष्ट करने के लिए किया जाता है, वह तप तमस कहा गया है। और हे अर्जुन, दान देना ही कर्तव्य है, ऐसे भाव से जो तप मूढ़ता पूर्वक हट से मन, वाणी और शरीर की पीड़ा के सहित अथवा दूसरे को अनिष्ट करने के लिए किया जाता है, वह तप तमस कहा गया है। So now the penances that are performed out of complete foolishness, that you just do austerities just because you want to prove something, and self-torture, or to destroy or injure others. So sometimes some people do austerities so that they can harm the others, they can gain some extra, some kind of power through which they want to harm others. It is said to be in the mode of ignorance. और हे अर्जुन, दान देना ही कर्तव्य है, ऐसे भाव से जो दान देश, काल और पात्र को प्राप्त होने पर प्रत्युपकार ना करने वाले के लिए किया जाता है, वह दान तो सात्विक कहा गया है। Now the next Shri Krishna is qualifying. This is called austerity, tap. The next Shri Krishna is explaining charity, dan. Charity in the three modes of nature. What is charity in the mode of goodness? Charity given out of duty. Charity given out of sense of duty. Being a person who lives in this world, we have our duty to give. As much as we are receiving from this world, we also have to give. It's our sense of duty, without expectation of returns, at the proper time and place, and to a worthy person, is considered to be in the mode of goodness. So charity that is given as a sense of duty without expectation of return. This is very, very important. Wherever the expectations of return are come, it's not mode of goodness. It becomes mode of passion. At the proper time and place, the time and the place has to be proper, and I'll explain how. And to the right person, to the worthy person, is considered to be in the mode of goodness. Now let's say charity to poor is sometimes given out of compassion, but if the poor man is not worthy of giving charity to, then there is no spiritual advancement of that person. In other words, indiscriminate charity is not recommended in Vedic literature. So for example, there is no recommendation for giving charity indiscriminately. Spiritual perfection is always a consideration. Therefore, charity is recommended to be given at a place of pilgrimage, or generally at certain times of the year, like solar and lunar eclipse, or at the end of the month to a qualified person. Such charities should be given without any consideration of return. And suppose if you give money to somebody who's begging, you don't even know whether that money will be utilized by that person for actually eating a proper food or going and consuming alcohol. And by consuming more alcohol, by the charity that you gave to them, they may become more and more violent to their family at home. And by doing that kind of charity, we are also propagating no dignity of labor. So charity should be given to a worthy person. So there should be a little bit of consciousness in you when you're performing an act of charity. Make sure that it is given to a worthy person, to at a proper place and time. Look at what the environment is, and based on that, try to do it as much as according to the scriptures at the right timings. There are certain days that are meant perfectly for charity, so that the charity that is given is also spiritualized. It benefits the person who receives it also. And without any expectation in return. One should not give charity to those people who you think that they will benefit you back. It should be given with a sense of duty that we have towards mankind. जो दान कलेश पूर्वक तथा प्रत्युपकार के प्रयोजन से अर्थात बदले में अपने सांसारिक कार्य सिद्ध करने की आशा से अथवा फल को उद्देश्य रखकर फिर दिया जाता है, वह दान राजस कहा गया है. Now, any charity that is performed with an expectation of returns. That is what I told, that this is how it differentiates between sattvic and rajasic. Any charity that is performed with an expectation of some return, or with the desire of a fruitative result, or in a grudging mood, unwillingly or reluctantly something is being done, it is said to be charity in the mode of passion. Because you have to feel like doing it as a sense of duty. It must come from within that I want to do this. Until you don't feel like, reluctantly or grudgingly, any charity that is done, or if it is done with expectation of something in return or desire of fruitative result, it is called as charity in the mode of passion. और जो दान बिना सत्कार किए एवं तिरस्कार पूर्वक अयोग्य देश काल में कुपात्रों के लिए अर्थात मंद मांसाधिकारी अभक्ष्य वस्तुओं को खाने वालों को एवं चोरी जारी जैसे नीच कर्म करने वालों को दिया जाता है, वह दान तमस कहा गया है. And the charity that is performed at an impure place, at an improper time, to an unworthy person, or without proper attention and respect, disrespectfully if a charity is being given with a sense of pride, or to a person who is indulging in the acts of, say, someone who is a thief, someone is, like I said, a drunkard, someone who consumes maybe drugs. Giving charity to such people is only going to make them push them more towards that path. So it's that kind of unworthy charity, and improper charity or indiscriminate charity is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Or also when the charity is done with a sense of without respecting that person, you're doing it more like as a, like I'll just give it to this person because what a petty person it is. So contributions for indulgences in, say, intoxications and gambling are not to be encouraged. That sort of contribution is in the mode of ignorance. Such charity is actually not beneficial, rather sinful people are encouraged. So what are we propagating? We are propagating we are not even letting them go through that misery to break that chain. We are rather elongating the misery by nourishing that misery. Such charity is not beneficial. Similarly, if a person gives charity to a suitable person but gives it without respect and without proper attention, that sort of charity is also called as a charity in the mode of ignorance. Because if you think you're superior, that's why you're giving charity, then you're also in the state of ignorance. हे अर्जुन, ओम तत्सत. ऐसे यह 3 प्रकार का सच्चिदानंदन ब्रह्म का नाम कहा गया है. उसी से सृष्टि के आदि काल में ब्राह्मण और वेद तथा यज्ञ आदि अधिक रचे गए हैं. So Shri Krishna tells Arjun, from the beginning of creation, the three words Om, Tat, Sat were have been in are the Brahm, are the substratum, are the consciousness, and from that only, and they indicate the absolute truth. These three symbolic representations were used by Brahmins while chanting the hymns of Vedas and doing sacrifices for the satisfaction of Supreme. These three words, Om Tat Sat, particularly indicate the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whether you call it Krishna, you call it whatever in your religion, in your faith, that is what it is. In the Vedic hymns, the word Om is always found. In fact, Tattvam Asi, Brahmano Nishedas Namaha, and Sad Iva Saumya in the Chandogya Upanishads, and in Rig Veda, and then Tattvamasi, which is also in the Chandogya Upanishad, these indicate the goals. They are the Mahavakyas. So the three words Om Tat Sat are uttered in conjunction with the holy name of also the Supreme Lord. For example, Om Tat Vishnu, when the Vedic hymn or the holy name of Supreme Lord is uttered, Om is always added. Om Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So these are the words that indicate the supreme, eternal, absolute truth. So here Shri Krishna says, from the beginning of creation, these three words were used, Om Tat Sat, were used to indicate the absolute supreme truth. These three symbolic representations were used by Brahmana while chanting the hymns of Vedas and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme. इसीलिए वेदों को कथन करने वाले श्रेष्ठ पुरुषों की शास्त्र विधि से नियत की हुई यज्ञ, दान और तप रूप क्रियाएं सदा ओम ऐसे इस परमात्मा के नाम को उच्चारण कर कर ही आरंभ होती हैं. So Shri Krishna says that therefore all the transcendentalists, all the people who have achieved a certain sense of awakening, a certain sense of, you can say, enlightenment, or a certain sense of evolving in their spiritual journey, undertaking the performance of sacrifices, charity and penances in accordance with spiritual regulations, always they chant Om to attain the Supreme, because they are aware of this truth. tat अर्थात तत् नाम से कहे जाने वाले परमात्मा का ही यह सब है. ऐसे इस भाव से फल को ना चाहकर नाना प्रकार के यज्ञ, तप रूप क्रियाएं तथा दान रूप क्रियाएं कल्याण की इच्छा वाले पुरुषों द्वारा की जाती हैं. Now, first word is the Om. We explained that it's the beginning of everything. It is the first cosmic energy that was energy. So all the transcendentalists, they, while doing everything like their charities, their sacrifices, or their penances, or even performing any Vedic chantings, they begin with the Om to attain the Supreme. And Tat, without desiring any future results, one should perform the kind of sacrifices, penances and charity with the word Tat. Now what Tat means is, Tat means that Paramatma, the super soul, Tat अर्थात tat नाम से कहे वाले परमात्मा का ही ये सब कुछ है. Everything belongs to the super soul. So without desiring any fugitive results, if one should perform various kinds of sacrifices in the mode of goodness, penances in the mode of goodness, and charity in the mode of goodness with the word tat. And when we say tat, we means yours. Whose? The gods, the super souls, the source, the consciousness from where we all have come. The purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from the material entanglement. It sets us free, it makes us feel liberated, it gives us a sense of joy. To be elevated to the spiritual position, one should not act for the material gain. Acts should be performed for the ultimate gain of being transferred to the spiritual kingdom, back to the home, back to the Godhead, back to the feet of the happiness, blissful God. सत, ऐसे एक परमात्मा का नाम. So in Tat, I would also say there is a very popular Hindi, in Hinduism there is a Aarti called Om Jai Jagdish Hare. In one of the stanzas of the Aarti towards the end we say Tera Tujhko Arpan. So we give Panch Dhatu, we give flowers, fruits, some grains, we give fragrance, and we give light, the diya, to God. But how, when we offer this to God, what do we say? We say Tera Tujhko Arpan. This is yours and we are offering to you. So it is not ours that we are offering to you. It has come from you, but we are also offering to you. So that understanding that this is Tat, this is yours. And then Sat. सत ऐसे एक परमात्मा का नाम सत्य भाव में, श्रेष्ठ भाव में प्रयोग किया जाता है, तथा हे पार्थ, उत्तम कर्म में भी सत शब्द प्रयोग किया जाता है. तथा यज्ञ, तप और दान में जो स्थिति है वह भी सत है, ऐसे कही जाती है, और उस परमात्मा के अर्थ किया हुआ कर्म निश्चय पूर्वक सत है, ऐसे कहा जाता है. So here Shri Krishna says, he explains Sat. He says the absolute truth is the objective of devotional service, and it is indicated by the word Sat. The performer of such sacrifice is also called Sat, and are all the works of sacrifice, penance and charity which, true to the absolute nature, are performed to please the Supreme God, or the what we call as Brahman, the consciousness, the source. So what is the absolute truth? Is what? It is the objective of devotional. What is the absolute truth? It is the objective of devotional sacrifice, and it is indicated by Sat. Sat means absolute truth. That is what? What is absolute truth? The objective of devotional sacrifice. The performer of that sacrifice, the person who performs, is also called Sat. He also becomes the truth. He's living the truth. He's acting the truth out. And as well as all the works of sacrifice, the sacrifice done in the mode of goodness, the penance done in the mode of goodness, the charity done in the mode of goodness, true to the Sat, to the absolute truth, that it is done in the as a sense of duty, without expecting any reward, but done to please God, because as a sense of duty towards pleasing the one who has created us, created everything around us, you, me and everyone, and perform to please that supreme super soul. हे अर्जुन, बिना श्रद्धा के होमा हुआ हवन तथा दिया हुआ दान एवं तपा हुआ तप और जो कुछ भी किया हुआ कर्म है वह समस्त असत ऐसे कहा जाता है, इसलिए वह ना तो इस लोक में लाभदायक है और ना ही मरने के पीछे ही लाभदायक है. इसलिए मनुष्य को चाहिए कि सच्चिदानंदन परमात्मा के नाम का निरंतर चिंतन करता हुआ निष्काम भाव से केवल परमेश्वर के लिए शास्त्र विधि से नियत किए हुए कर्मों का परम श्रद्धा और उत्साह के सहित आचरण करे. So here Shri Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna, this is the last shloka. he says anything, whether it is a sacrifice, charity, or penance, or practicing faith, chanting, if it is done without faith in the Supreme, then he says, Arjuna, it is impermanent. It should only be dedicated to Supreme. The purpose should be that you are doing it as a duty to the Supreme. Any sacrifice, any tap, any yajna, any dan, any charity, any penance, any sacrifice, or any activity of faith should be not done to gain some benefit out of it, should not be done in the mode of ignorance, should not be done out of anger, should not be done out of as a sense of a burden, or should not be done at an improper way, or not following the rules and regulations. Should be done according to rules and regulations without expecting anything out of it, as a sense of duty towards the Supreme, towards the God. And that is called as Sat. Everything other than that, if it is done without faith, or if it is done with some desire in the return, then it is called a Sat, and it is useless both in this life and in the next life. So here Sri Krishna says that without faith, if you have done havan, you have done sacrifices, you have done charities, you have done penances, or you have done good karmas also, but without faith, then everything of that becomes asat. It becomes the opposite of truth. It becomes non-truth. Then it is neither beneficial to you in this life, and it is not obviously carrying forward in your next life as good karma. So then forget everything, and then remember only one thing, that everything has to be done with a faith towards the Supreme God, without having any desire for fruitive results or having any material desires, only and only for God, only and only for the Supreme consciousness, that whatever name you want to give it, done according to the rules and regulations of your own scriptures, and niyat kiye hue, as prescribed, with lot of faith, with complete faith and complete enthusiasm. With such act, whatever is done is the way to reach God. Otherwise, not done in this way will not be, is going to be useless in this life and also in the next life. So here Shri Krishna says, the mode of goodness is better than the modes of passion and ignorance, but one who takes directly to the consciousness, the energy, the source, is transcendental to even all these three modes of nature. Also, there is, understand that wherever we are, we can start from there. There is a gradual process of gradual elevation. If one, by the association of pure devotees, take directly to the understanding of your own faith, your own spiritual journey, you begin with it, then that is the best way to have a nice set of pure devotees to help you elevate your faith. And this is recommended in this chapter. To achieve success in this way, one must find first the proper group. That's why they say satsang. Good, pure devotees who can bring you the right kind of energy and the enthusiasm, the knowledge, understanding of the scriptures, and receiving maybe a conversational training, if not formal training, under their direction. Then one can achieve faith in Supreme. And when that faith matures in the course of time, it starts becoming instead of faith, it starts becoming love of God. This love is the ultimate goal of the living entities. One should therefore take to the Supreme Consciousness directly. This is the message of the 17th chapter. I hope you really enjoyed this chapter. It's a beautiful chapter. It has only 28 shlokas, but these are very beautiful nectar of knowledge. So I really enjoyed sharing this with you. Now we are going to come to the last chapter, the 18th chapter, which is quite a big chapter, and it is a wonderful, wonderful chapter. It's a culmination of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and it is called as the 9th chapter is called as Moksha Sannyas Yoga. So it is something that elevates you out of all the burdens and all the entanglements and all the problems of life. So I'm sure you will be really looking forward to come back next in the next video and learn about the Moksha Sannyas Yoga. It is also called the conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. That is the chapter 18. Once again, I would like to tell you, it's called, in this, according to this book, it's called Moksha Sannyas Yoga. So moksha, we know what is it, nirvana. Moksha, sannyas means leaving and keep moving away from the material entanglements, and yoga means union with God. And then according to this book, the English version, it is called Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation, which is so difficult for us to achieve in this life, but why not? Why not learn from the God Himself? With that, I would like to thank you all for joining me in this journey, but do join the conclusion in my last video of the series of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Thank you all. And with that, let's chant these two wonderful Maha Mantras to conclude this video. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.